right, welcome back into the North Star Takes podcast. In this segment, we're going to be dissecting the Minnesota Vikings schedule release and picking each game one at a time and then giving a projected record total as well. Feel free to comment below what you think the Vikings record will be this season and if any games stand out to you or if you got any hot takes about what will happen this season. So without further ado, let's get started. Liberta, what do you think the outcome is going to be in week 1 against the Bengals?
Well, I don't even think we need to proceed with this video. I'm saying 17-0.
Oh, I can't find the first loss. Huh?
No, I can't. I can't see it here. So I mean, I think this is going to be a perfect season that the Patriots couldn't finish back like 14 years ago now. But
oh man,
it'll be even better in the first year of 17 games. The Vikings will be the first team to go 20-0.
Yeah, with Kirk Cousins leading the charge.
Yeah, you know Kirk, he's going to etch his name in history here and become the Hall of Fame quarterback. But
maybe if we have 0 injuries and we get every bounce, just maybe.
Yes, exactly. But in all seriousness, coming into a different reality here, the true reality,
realistic.
Being realistic, I like our matchup here against Cincinnati. I think it's a good start. We're not playing some really bad team, but we're not playing a great team either. So I think it's a good time to get a good start into the season. I guess I'd say. I guess I'll leave it at that. But I think this is a win. Week 1, especially if Joe Burrow's out, I think it's a slam dunk. But if he's in, it'll test us a little bit, which is nice. But I think we should still be able to win, even if it's not the prettiest game coming right out of the gates. So
right.
I'm saying a win against Cincinnati. How about you?
I'm going to go with a win as well. I feel like this is just one of those comfortable AFC games. It's a noon game.
Yes.
I mean, it's on the road, but the Vikings should be able to take care of business here. The defense is much improved. Mm-hmm. The offensive line got stronger. There shouldn't be an issue here. So, like you said, if Joe Burrow plays, it might be a little more tough. But if it's like Brandon Allen, this will be an easy win. This should be a nice start to go 1-0. So,
exactly.
Yeah, I got the Vikings starting off 1-0.
All right, cool.
So, week 2, they play the Arizona Cardinals. They go down to Arizona to face Kyler Murray for the first time. That'll be very interesting to see how they can defend him. Mm-hmm. They also have DeAndre Hopkins. They got lots of weapons down there. So
and it's the Patrick Peterson revenge game.
Exactly.
That'll be in the desert.
That'll be another interesting storyline. So
he's going to be hyped.
I believe that's a 3:00 game, if I remember correctly. So that'll be one of the more prime time games on Fox, if you will. So, What are you thinking for that one?
I kind of go back and forth on this one. I think it's kind of a coin flip. It really depends how we come out of the gates. If we come out like last year, this is an easy hill. But if we come out a little bit better than that, I think it's really a coin flip. But since I have a hard time picking them winning 2 road games in a row right out of the chute, so I'm going to say this one's going to be close, but it's going to be an L. Because I think that Cardinals offense is pretty nice. Then I think it's tough to win 2 in a row on the road right out of the gate. So just favoring percentages, I guess I would probably say this is a loss against Kyler because I also don't think we're the best at containing mobile quarterbacks like that. I think we're still getting a footing for that. Or we'll be gaining footing for that throughout the season. So come to here right away. I think this is a loss. What are you thinking?
I'm kind of agreeing with you and not even necessarily looking at who the matchups are. It just seems like the Vikings can never get off to like a 3-0, 3-1 type start. Yeah. They always seem to go 2-2. So it's hard for me to envision them winning 2 games in a row to start the season, like you said. So I have this being a loss as well. I think this really could be a year where Arizona actually jumps up and wins that division. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how we defend Kyler. He's just one of those, elite mobile quarterbacks that can run and, make guys miss, and he's got a good arm too. So
let's backstep this here real quick. You mentioned how you think the Cardinals can win this division, huh?
Yes,
over like the Seahawks, the Rams, and the Niners.
Yeah, I can see a scenario where the Seahawks actually finished last in this division this year, just because they made the playoffs last year, but they weren't that great. So
that's pretty big.
They don't have a ton of talent outside of Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf. They have Tyler Lockett. He's pretty good.
There.
The defense isn't anything to write home about. So I think the Seahawks will take a step back. The Cardinals are the up-and-coming team. They were close to making the playoffs this last season if it wasn't for choking at the end of the year. So I don't know. I think Arizona's got a shot.
I do too. I can kind of see what you're saying. I think if they take their offense to another level, I can definitely see that happening. Obviously, it depends. I think the Rams are actually the superior team in this division if I'm just looking at rosters on paper. But the Niners can make it interesting, but because of their quarterback situation being in flux, I can kind of see what you're saying about the Cardinals now. The more I think about it. So,
right. Yeah. So moving on, we got week 3. Seattle finally comes to Minnesota. It'll it'll be really interesting to see how the Vikings can handle Russell Wilson at home. So,
yeah, I think this is a dub. I think home opener. I like the energy returning to U.S. Bank Stadium for the first time in 2 years with a full crowd, hopefully. So we finally got to break through against the Seahawks. I think this is finally the year. Zimmer's finally gonna notch a win against or at least one win against every NFC team. So I think this is gonna be a big W for us, and we'll be 2-1.
Yeah, I agree with you. Week 4, Cleveland Browns coming to town. Kevin Stefanski.
Yes, I'm gonna say this is actually an L. I'm gonna go different here. I'm gonna say their offense is, I don't even know how to describe it. I guess it's really balanced, which is hard to game plan for because they can run the ball pretty well, but they can also have Baker throw for 300 yards and probably 3-4 touchdowns or something. So that kind of concerns me a little bit. Their defense is getting better with that good D line, like you were saying. So I'm actually gonna say this is an L, and I think fans will be a little bit upset about this one, but it is also a playoff team coming from last year. So
yeah, you're right. I think this will be an L as well. It's just like I said before, it's hard to see the Vikings getting off to any better of a start than 2-2. They're just very inconsistent whenever they start the season. So coming off a big win against Russell Wilson and the Seahawks at home, I just don't think. I think they would have a letdown against Cleveland, and at this point, fans would be kind of wondering, well, how good is this team really?
Yeah, exactly.
We're a quarter of the way through the season. They're 2-2 once again, like they always are with Kirk.
Yep.
So I think that'll be kind of be a letdown game. Granted, the Browns are pretty good, but
still, it still resonates in your mind, even though they had a good year last year, and they really have honestly a pretty good team. It still sits in the back of your mind. It's like, why are we losing to the Browns? Like,
exactly. It's a home game. You're gonna have a full house probably.
Yeah.
You'll have that home field advantage.
Exactly.
The Browns are that nice AFC team at noon on Sunday. So
exactly.
I mean, it should be a win, but I think it'll be a loss. So moving on, we got Detroit. I don't know if there's going to be much debate about this one between us. I think Detroit at home, that should be a pretty easy win.
Plain and simple, this has to be a win. If it's not, we got some major problems going on. If we're losing Dan Campbell and they're biting our kneecaps off, then then I'm going to be very concerned about the rest of the season. So that's a dub. I don't think there's much more that needs to be said.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, if they lose this game, you can start chanting "Fire Zimmer." You can start calling for Kellen Mond.
Yes, 100%.
At this point, the
I'll
season's going to be a disaster.
Yeah, so. Exactly. I'll back everybody up on that. If the Vikings lose this Week 5 game to the Lions, then I'm going to back everybody up, chant for Mond, chant for people's jobs to be on the line. So I 100% there. And especially, I'll take this one step further with the Lions. I'm going to say Jared Goff is going to be terrible this year. I think this is going to be very reminiscent of his rookie year when he didn't win a game for the Rams in his 7 starts, because I think McVay bailed him out more than people even know. I think this will be his first time in an offense since then. Like, he's had 1 year in the league without McVay, and he was terrible. And I think McVay has covered up all the flaws that he has, especially playing with a team that has pretty depleted roster. This is going to be ugly for the Lions this year.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, who does he have to throw to? TJ Hawkinson? Like,
that's about it. That's all I can name, really. I mean, Quintez Cephas.
Is he their best receiver? Like,
I mean, I guess technically according to the depth chart,
because they lost Galladay and they lost Marvin Jones, so
there's not a whole lot there.
I mean, this is a complete rebuild for the Lions, so this would be an absolutely unacceptable loss, no questions asked. So at this point, the Vikings should be 3-2 at the worst.
Exactly. Yeah, that's playing it pretty safe. I think that should be a pretty safe floor.
Yes, I agree. So Week 6, we head to Carolina. Carolina obviously wasn't very good this last season with Teddy. They went and traded for Sam Darnold from the Jets. Kind of an interesting move when they could have potentially drafted Justin Fields, it ended up being. So I think this should be a relatively easy game. It is a road game, so that'll make it a little more difficult, especially coming off an easy game against the Lions. But I feel like this is probably the softest 2-game stretch of our schedule right here. So Vikings shouldn't have much problem with this one and should head to Carolina and get a dub.
I'd have to agree. I think this should be one of our easier games on the road slate. So I think this is another one that we almost have to have, because I don't think the Panthers will be quite that good yet this year. I think they're still building, and this is year 2 Matt Rule. I think they will turn into a pretty decent team eventually, just not yet, especially this early in the season. Then the jury is still out on Sam Darnold, so I'm still a little skeptical on him. So I think we should be able to have our way there and pick up a much needed road win. So
agreed.
going to the bye.
Yeah, we got a bye week 7, which I think is what we had last year as well. So
Yep.
it would have been nice to have a little bit later of a bye, especially adding that extra game on to the end of the season. So
exactly 4-2 going to the bye.
Yeah, which we'll take at that point. So then you come out of the bye week 8. You got the Dallas Cowboys at home, Sunday Night Football on Halloween night. How do you see that one shaking out?
This one is another one I go back and forth on because you just never know what you're going to get out of this Cowboys team. And, Sunday Night Football against America's team. So we've won this game, won Sunday night on the road against Dallas a couple years ago, but then last year we dropped an ugly game that we should have had. So
that's a good point.
So I'm gonna say this one's a loss just because last year we came out of the bye great, which I think that was one of the first times I can remember our team in the Zimmer era coming out hot out of the bye, which doesn't make sense because most teams win their first game out of a bye.
Right.
We doesn't really feel like that. So I think this will be a big win for us. So I'm gonna say, or this will be a big week for us, but I'm gonna say this is a loss. Actually, I'm gonna conservatively say this is a loss. I don't know how you feel.
I'm gonna go opposite of you. I think they'll win this game.
Right.
Dallas is always overrated and overhyped. They have the talent, that's for sure. There's no denying that.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, we beat them on Sunday Night Football a couple of years ago in Dallas, in Jerry World. This one will finally be at US Bank Stadium. I think the crowd's going to be hyped, finally getting a night primetime game back at US Bank. So, yeah, I think the Vikings will win this one. Our improved defense should help slow down Dak and the passing attack a little bit. Dallas's defense still really isn't that good, so the Vikings should be able to put up yards and put up points. This could be another Dalvin Cook game. He kind of dominated against Dallas both times we've played them in the last 2 years. So.
True. And we'll need that, especially with Kirk's known primetime woes. So that'll be huge if Dalvin steps up in that game.
Yeah. So I got the Vikings sitting at 5-2 right now, and you have them sitting at 4-3. So I'm a little more optimistic than you at this point, which is kind of interesting. But it's usually the other way around. But then going into week 9, they travel to Baltimore.
Yeah, it just gets even tougher if we can't beat the Cowboys at home. I have a hard time seeing us winning on the road at Baltimore, even though it's a noon game that usually plays more to our standard. I think the Baltimore is just one of the best regular season teams over the last couple of years, so I think it's gonna be tough to stop that running game that's pretty dominant. Although we've put significant resources into improving this run defense this year, so that shouldn't look as bad as you might think it could in that game, but I still don't think we'll be able to do enough because their defense is also pretty good.
Yes,
they have a great run game and a great defense to complement it. So I would say we play competitive in that game, but we just don't have quite enough juice to win it. So I'm gonna say we drop it 4-4.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I think we lose this game, and like you said, we improved our interior defensive line that's supposed to help stop the run. Yeah. The problem is when Lamar Jackson runs, he doesn't run like just straight up the middle. He gets around to the outside. And that doesn't really, that doesn't have much of an impact then on our defensive interior. So, yeah, I think Lamar is just going to be too much of a wild card. Zimmer's not going to really know what to do with him, I feel like. I mean, Kyler Murray's a little similar, but Lamar is way faster, I think. So
100%, and Lamar runs a lot.
Exactly. So. And he was the league MVP a couple of years ago for a reason. So
exactly.
I think the Vikings dropped this game and moved to 5-3. Yep. Then they travel to LA to play the Chargers in week 10. Many people thought this was going to be the last game of the season, but it ends up being right in the middle. And I think this could be a good bounce back game for the Vikings as well.
I think so too. Even though you're going coast to coast there, going from the East Coast and Baltimore to the West Coast and LA, I actually like this one a lot for the Vikings. I think this is a big win to bounce back after I got them losing a couple in a row here. So I'm going to say they win this one because it's a dome environment where Kirk thrives. And also, I don't think either LA team really has an established fan base. So I think there'll be more Vikings fans there than people might think, especially in a huge stadium like that is. And I think this will be also a good stage for Jefferson to really show out and prove that he should have been the Rookie of the Year last year. So I'm gonna say it's a big win for us.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be interesting. Like you said, the Chargers have a new coach this year. Justin Herbert was really good last year, but our team's going to be more prepared for him this year.
Yep.
So I think, the Chargers have some work to do on their defense as well. So I think that this, the Vikings are the superior team on paper.
Yep.
And this should be one of those, low pressure games where the Vikings just go in and they might have to grind out a W, but they should leave there with a win. So
exactly.
Then week 11, we finally have our first game at home against the Packers.
Yep. I'll play I'll play this under the assumption that Rodgers isn't back, and I'll say this is a win, and it's a pretty comfortable win at home against a division rival and in our biggest rivalry game of the season. So I'll give us a win there.
All right. I'm going to agree with you there. I think, I'm under the assumption that Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be there as well. So I think we should easily be able to beat Jordan Love. Zimmer's going to give him fits. So I think that should be a relatively easy win. And then the Vikings would move to 7-3 for me, which is they're sitting pretty good at that point. So
yeah, exactly.
The following week they go to San Francisco, which is going to be a tough game, I think.
Yeah, that's a loss. I think San Francisco's got a pretty talented team. I just don't think we'll be able to do enough. I also can't remember the last time the Vikings won in San Francisco. So I think the times just keep on rolling there and just don't quite have enough regardless of who their quarterback is, whether that's Lance or Garoppolo. So I'm gonna say an L there because I don't think we can win multiple games on the West Coast in one season. So.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, that's a tough division. The Niners have a really strong defense, so I think the Vikings are gonna end up taking an L out there. So
yeah.
Following week, you got Detroit going to Detroit. That should once again just be an easy win, regardless if it's an away game or not.
That's a win. No questions asked.
Fair enough. We'll move on. Then you got Pittsburgh at home, that Thursday night game, week 14. How are you feeling about that? We already kind of talked about that in our previous video, but what are you thinking?
Give me a win in that one. I think our defense should be able to eat Big Ben alive in a primetime game like that. And even if our offense doesn't do a ton, I feel like we'll still have enough on defense, honestly, to just really do what we want with their offense and might make it a really gritty game, but I think we can grind that out being at home. So give me a win.
I actually have a little bit different take on this. I think this is going to be a letdown game for the Vikings. Pittsburgh, They should beat Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh's got a good D.
Okay.
I remember a couple of years ago we played Washington on Thursday Night Football and really struggled. So I see this being a tough game for the Vikings, especially on a short week. I think we're going to take an L on this one. So
right. I can see that too.
Following week, we go to Chicago on Monday Night Football. We all kind of know how that usually goes. I'll go first. I think they're going to lose that game.
I don't
know. They won there last year. I feel like that was kind of a fluke, though. It was a low-scoring game. So overall, I don't see it happening, especially if Justin Fields is playing.
Yep, I'd say that's a loss just because we never play well in Chicago, and I think we can't win there on Monday night back-to-back years. So.
Yep. So then we got LA Rams, at home the day after Christmas. How you feeling about that one?
Give me a win and a fireworks show. Let's go.
Yes.
I think our offense can finally win a shootout here against a good team, and I don't know. I just like good juju right after Christmas. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think this will be an extremely entertaining game, possibly a shootout, but the Vikings have gotten the better of the Rams when McVay was first there.
And Matt Stafford.
Yeah, that's true. We have a good record against Matt Stafford. So, I think that'll be an important game at the end of the season, possibly to determine playoff positioning.
That could be.
So I think
clinch a berth.
Yeah, exactly. True. So, I think that's going to be a win against the Rams. So, week 17, we go to Green Bay, to Lambeau, playing against Jordan Love. It's going to be cold, but I think the Vikings will beat Jordan Love again.
Yeah, if it's Jordan Love, I'm going to say this is a win for sure. But if it's Rodgers, I'm saying this an L, but we're playing on the assumption it's Love. So I'll say it's a win in a primetime spot, or honestly, if it's Love and the Packers aren't having that great of a season, it could honestly get flexed out being that's Sunday night. So,
right, that could be an interesting one.
Yeah, so I'm going to give us the win there, assuming it's Love. So.
Yeah, and then finally we host Chicago the final week of the season, of course. This will be kind of interesting. Are we going to be resting guys? Do we maybe have the division in hand at this point? Or are we going to be playing for seeding? So I think this will be an interesting one. Go ahead. I'll let you go first.
I think we finally got to win this one because we just haven't. How many years in a row now? I feel like we got to break through. So this is a win for us.
Yeah, I think the Vikings, when they finally need to win this last game of the season, if it's for winning the division or if it's for getting a 2 seed or whatever, or a 3 seed, I think that'll be just they'll finally break through. Kirk will finally step up, win a game he needs to win. So overall, I think the Vikings. I have them going 11-6, and I think you do as well. So
yes,
I feel like that's the pretty common consensus among, from most people from what I've seen.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a pretty fair Vikings prediction for Vikings fans. So
yeah.
I think obviously that changes a lot if Rodgers playing. I think we probably tack on another L there, make it 10-7, but we'll have to see how that situation progresses. So for now, 11-6, I think that's a pretty fair record. Yeah. 11-6, 10-7, maybe even 12-5. We're feeling really ambitious. So I think. I like that.
Yeah, there's a lot that can change between now and then for sure.
Yep.
So that'll do it for this segment. Be sure to comment what your record predictions are as well.
Yeah, I would love to hear it.
We'll do our next segment shortly here.